this episode, we are looking at one of the most common support complaints a beginner technician will hear, which is some version of the internet is not working right. The user may say the laptop shows connected, but pages will not load. The phone keeps asking to sign in again. The wireless looks fine, but nothing opens, or the network feels half broken in a way that is hard to explain. These problems often sound messy because the user is describing the result they feel, not the point where the connection is actually failing. That is why this topic matters so much for A-plus learners. Once you understand how to separate limited connectivity, authentication trouble, bad naming service behavior, wrong address information, gateway trouble, and service-side outages, you stop treating every internet complaint like one giant mystery and start seeing it as a path with a few specific places where things usually go wrong. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is part of our companion study series. The first book is a detailed study guide that explains the exam and helps you prepare for it with confidence. The second is a Kindle-only ebook with 1,000 flashcards you can use on your mobile device or Kindle for quick review. You can find both at CyberAuthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Limited connectivity is a useful idea because it explains a situation where the device is not fully disconnected, but it still cannot do what the user expects. A phone or laptop may connect to the local wireless network and still fail to reach websites, cloud tools, video calls, or other online services. That is why a user can say the wireless is connected and still be completely right when they also say the internet does not work. The connection to the nearby network and the connection to the wider internet are related, but they are not the same thing. A beginner should think of the problem in two steps. First, can the device talk to the local network at all? Second, can that network successfully carry the device's traffic out to the rest of the internet? If step 1 works and step 2 fails, the user sees bars, a connected symbol, or a join network name, but still gets a broken online experience. A device also needs correct address information before it can behave normally on a network. The network uses Internet Protocol, IP, addressing so the device can be identified and traffic can be sent to the right place. In many environments, the device receives that information automatically from Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, DHCP, which helps hand out addresses and related network details. If that process fails, the device may join the wireless signal and still have no useful path to the internet because it never got a valid network identity or did not get all of the details it needed. A beginner does not need to memorize every address range to understand the practical lesson. If the device joins the network but behaves as though it has no real path outward, a missing or wrong IP setup becomes one likely reason. That kind of failure often feels confusing because the connection looks partly alive even though the traffic is not going where it needs to go. The gateway is another part of the path that beginners need to understand because it often explains why a device can join a network and still fail to reach the internet. The gateway is the nearby system that helps traffic leave the local network and move toward outside destinations. A good beginner way to picture it is as the local exit point. If the device has an address and can talk on the local network but cannot use the correct exit, then internet access can fail even while nearby network activity still looks normal. This is why a person may be able to join the wireless, maybe even see local devices, and yet still say that the real internet is dead. When the gateway path is missing, wrong, or unhealthy, the user feels stuck inside the local network. That is a very important support idea because it helps you see why a device can seem connected and disconnected at the same time depending on which part of the path you are talking about. Another common cause of bad internet behavior is a naming problem rather than a full connection problem. The domain name system, DNS, is what helps turn familiar website and service names into the numerical addresses devices use behind the scenes. If DNS is failing, the user may say the internet is broken because typing normal site names or opening common services does not work, even though the basic network path may still be alive. This can be especially confusing to beginners because some parts of the internet may still seem to work. An app that has already cached information may open, a saved page may partly load, or one service may behave better than another, and the user gets mixed signals. The key lesson is that the internet path and the name resolution system are not the same thing. A device can still have some network function while acting useless for normal browsing simply because it can no longer turn names into reachable destinations. Authentication failures create a different kind of problem because here the device may be reaching the network but not being accepted in the way the network expects. The user may type the wrong password, may be using a saved password that is now outdated, may need to complete a sign-in page on a public network, or maybe on a school or office network that requires account-based access before full internet use is allowed. In a hotel, airport, campus, coffee shop, or business environment, the device may join the wireless signal first and still be waiting for one more sign-in step before real internet access begins. That is why users sometimes say the network is lying because it says connected and still does not work. The network may not be lying at all. It may be waiting for authentication to finish. For a beginner, this is one of the most useful things to remember. Connected to the signal and allowed full access are not always the same thing. One of the fastest ways to narrow these problems down is to ask whether the issue affects one device or many. If one laptop is failing while other devices on the same network are working normally, the problem is more likely local to that one device. It may have the wrong saved password, a stale session, a local settings issue, a bad network profile, or trouble receiving the right network details. If every phone, laptop, and tablet in the house or office is showing the same broken online behavior, then the problem becomes much less likely to live inside one device. Beginners often skip this question because the user sounds urgent, but it is one of the best early clues. One failing device usually points you toward local settings, local authentication, or local address trouble. Many failing devices at once usually point you toward the gateway, the wireless equipment, or the outside service path rather than toward one user's machine. Location also matters a great deal, especially on wireless networks. If a device works normally in one place and shows limited connectivity in another, that may point more towards signal quality or how the device is joining the network in that area rather than toward a total internet failure. A person may say the wireless works downstairs but not upstairs, or that the office conference room always has login trouble, or that the phone keeps reconnecting in one hallway. Those details matter because they help separate internet service problems from network access problems closer to the user. A service-side outage usually does not care which bedroom or meeting room the user is standing in. A local wireless problem often does. That is why beginners should pay close attention to where the issue happens. If the complaint follows one part of the building, then the problem is often with signal, access quality, or how the user reaches the network there rather than with the entire internet path. Service-side trouble is the next major category, and this is where the device and local network may both be working as expected while the actual internet service beyond them is unhealthy. The Internet Service Provider, ISP, supplies the outside connection that carries the local network to the wider internet. If the ISP has an outage, the modem loses service, or the upstream connection is unstable, then many devices can join the local network perfectly and still fail to reach the outside world. This is why the user may see the home wireless name, connect to it, and still report that everything online is broken. Beginners sometimes get confused here because the local network feels normal. The router is on, the wireless name appears, and the device joins without trouble. Even so, the path beyond the building may still be down. That is why good technicians think in layers. The local network can be healthy while the outside service is not. Bad internet behavior is not always a full outage, and this is where support gets trickier. Sometimes pages load slowly, some apps work while others do not. Video calls stutter, cloud files will not sync, or login pages appear and disappear in a way that makes the whole experience feel unreliable rather than completely dead. A beginner should understand that partial failure is very common. A naming problem can make browsing fail while some apps still work. A weak service path can cause streaming or calls to stutter, while simple text pages still open eventually. An authentication problem can allow limited access to a portal page while blocking full use of the internet until the user signs in properly. This matters because users often say the internet is down when what they really mean is that the internet is behaving badly in only some paths or some apps. A technician has to listen for which things still work, because those surviving functions often point toward the part of the path that is still healthy. A very helpful beginner habit is to ask simple questions in a simple order. Does the device join the network at all, or does it fail before that? If it joins, does the problem affect one device or many? If it affects one device, did the password change? Did the user recently reconnect? Or does the device keep asking for sign-in? If it affects many devices, does the wireless itself stay available while the internet remains unreachable? If websites fail, do all online services fail? Or do some still work in a strange partial way? These plain questions do a lot of the work for you. They help you separate authentication trouble from address trouble, gateway trouble from naming trouble, and local trouble from service-side trouble. You do not need a complicated command sequence in your head at the beginner level. What you need is a calm way to sort the complaint into the right part of the network path. A public network example shows this clearly. Imagine a user in a hotel who says the laptop shows connected, but no website will load. If a beginner sees the connected symbol and assumes the internet itself is broken, they may miss the real cause. In many public places, the device first joins the local wireless and then waits for the user to open a sign-in page, accept terms, enter a room number, or otherwise finish authentication. Until that extra step is completed, the user has only partial access. They may reach a portal page or almost nothing at all, and the experience feels broken even though the network is doing exactly what it was designed to do. That is why authentication problems are so important in real support. They do not always look like obvious password errors. Sometimes they look like normal connection with useless internet, and the fix is not deeper network repair, but simply completing the required access step. A home or office example helps show the difference between local, gateway, and service-side trouble. Imagine a user says the wireless looks normal, but no website loads on any device in the house. If the television can still reach a saved streaming app menu, but new pages fail on laptops and phones, the issue might point toward DNS trouble rather than total network death. If every device joins the home network, but nothing reaches the internet at all, the gateway or outside service becomes more likely. If only one laptop shows the problem while every other phone and tablet works, then the issue is probably on that laptop and not in the ISP path. These differences matter because they stop you from using one explanation for every symptom. The user may use the same words each time by saying the internet is not working, but the pattern behind the complaint tells you whether the broken piece is the device, the local network path, or the outside service. Another beginner mistake is to confuse speed trouble with connectivity trouble. A network that is slow, delayed, or inconsistent can feel almost as bad as one that is fully down, especially for video meetings, streaming, online testing, or remote work. Even so, bad speed is not always caused by the same things as limited connectivity. Authentication problems usually block or restrict access. Address or gateway problems often stop the internet path outright. A service-side issue may cut off outside access broadly. Slow performance, on the other hand, may come from weak wireless conditions, shared demand, or service strain rather than from a missing path. That is why beginners should listen for whether the user means nothing works or whether the user means things work badly. Both feel urgent to the user, but they point towards slightly different causes and need slightly different thinking from the technician. By the end of this topic, limited connectivity, authentication failures, and bad internet behavior should feel much more organized and much less frustrating. A device can join a local network and still fail because it has wrong IP details, a bad gateway path, broken DNS behavior, or incomplete authentication. A whole network can appear healthy inside the building and still fail because the ISP path beyond it is down. Partial failure is common, so some services may work while others do not, which is why technicians have to ask what still works instead of assuming everything is equally broken. The big goal for a beginner is not to memorize every network technology at once. The big goal is to think in layers and separate the device, the local network, and the outside service path. Once you do that, internet complaints stop sounding like one giant problem and start sounding like a few very common problems that can be recognized and sorted much faster.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.